Welcome to the Body and Beyond podcast with Alice and Gina.
A podcast sparking discussion on all things health, mindset, fitness, goals, and motivation.
We strive to help you to boost your confidence, to take the lead in your own life, to back yourself, and to step into your full potential. Body and Beyond is proudly sponsored by The Seed Cycle. The Seed Cycle is a beautiful female-founded Australian company. Seed cycling is a natural methodology that you can use to support your menstruation and your ovulation, and it can even be used to support your hormones through perimenopause and menopause. If you'd like 50% off your first month subscription, use the code BODYANDBEYOND at the Seed Cycle website www.theseedcycle.com.au. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Body and Beyond with Alice and Gina. And today we have a very special guest, the beautiful Mel from Functional Health Canberra. She's here to join us talking all things supporting our hormones with not only seed cycling, but more importantly, nutrition. So hey Mel.
Hi guys.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So great to have you. So to kick us all off, please do introduce yourself to our listeners. We'd love to hear about your background and what brought you into the health industry.
Yeah, so I started studying nutrition. It was really as a hobby. I was in the public service at the time, and I was looking at a way to end my own personal struggles with weight and food. After my first lot of studying nutrition, I came across functional nutrition, and I just knew straight away this is where I want to be. And what I noticed was my mindset was shifting. I was no longer looking at food as the enemy. I was really looking at food as medicine. But what I was finding was that those old habits, the emotional eating, the self-sabotage, the negative self-talk, they were still there. And then I came across EFT tapping, and that just changed everything for me because I was really able to get to the root cause, what was keeping me stuck. Yeah.
Just for our listeners, so EFT, is that emotional freedom technique?
Yeah, so EFT, emotional freedom technique. And we explain it as acupuncture, but without needles.
Great. And so where does that bring you to today with your businesses?
Yeah, so then it was after I had my daughter, I decided to start Functional Health Canberra, and I combined what I knew about functional nutrition, and I also became a accredited certified EFT practitioner, which took quite a long time, but it was an amazing process to go through. And what I wanted to do with people is use that combination, because I knew, like for myself, that isolated approach to nutrition really didn't work. And so now I have been doing that for almost 4 years. And I help people with emotional eating and get to their goals and sustain it. So when it comes to functional nutrition, we're really looking at that holistic approach. We're looking at mindful eating, we're looking at gut health, we're looking at metabolism, we're looking at emotions, and we're looking at hormones, which is what got me into seed cycling.
I would love to hear a little bit more about what seed cycling actually is. I know a lot of our listeners probably haven't heard of seed cycling before. So
yeah, and neither had I, honestly. So what happened was I was getting a lot of clients coming in, and the goal was weight loss. And each month they would come to me and say, oh, I've been having PMS symptoms, I'm having really strong cravings, my moods are all over the place, my skin's breaking out. And I just knew that it was going to be really difficult for them to lose the weight if their hormones weren't balanced, if their hormones were out of balance. And so I went searching. I had this feeling of like, there's got to be more we can do to support their hormones. And that's when I came across seed cycling. And it really started, as I read about it, it's really started to tick all the boxes for me. It was a natural, whole foods way of supporting your hormones. It was an intuitive approach. The seeds were backed. There was a lot of science backing the function of the seeds. it was adding into the diet rather than taking away and restricting, which is what a lot of what we're used to. And and so what it basically is, it's a form of menstrual biohacking, which is where we're using science and nature to optimize our health, which is so cool, right? The concept behind it is that the specific seeds carry important vitamins, oils, minerals that support the production as well as the elimination of key hormones such as your progesterone and your estrogen.
So I first started hearing about seed cycling. I was reading, for anyone watching along, this book here, so In the Flow by Melissa Kovacevic. Have you guys read that one? Yeah, Alison, I gave you that one, didn't I?
I have read that one now, and it's honestly changed so much for me.
Yeah. So I first started learning about seed cycling through that. So it's because I started buying the seeds as per what she recommended and seed cycling just before you launched your new business, Mel. But can you tell us a bit more about seed cycling, like what's involved, which seeds, and which ones would you recommend throughout different phases of our menstrual cycle?
Yeah, so for the purposes of seed cycling, we break it into 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, you're taking flaxseed and pumpkin seed. And basically what you do is you take 1 tablespoon of each seed ground up from day 1 to day 14 of your menstrual cycle. So day 1, when you get your period, you start taking the phase 1 seeds. And then around that ovulation phase, you switch over to phase 2. And phase 2 is sesame seed and sunflower seeds. And then you take that for another 14 days, or gets you back to when you get your period again. What we know about the seeds specifically in phase 1, so you've got your flaxseed and your pumpkin seeds, and they have the beautiful omega-3s, you've got your selenium and your zinc in there, and it really helps with your estrogen levels. And then with phase 2, you got your sunflower seeds and your sesame seeds, and they have your omega-6s and then your beautiful vitamin E, which helps your progesterone levels. And that's why I think it has such a huge impact on skin. That beautiful vitamin E is, people are telling us all the time within that first month even that their skin's feeling a lot clearer, it's healing up hormonal acne, and so that's really the concept behind it. There's a lot of women who don't have a regular cycle, or they may be on hormonal birth control, or they may be moving into menopause. And the really cool thing is that you can actually cycle using the moon phases. So you can mimic a menstrual cycle. And I know that sounds really woo-woo, but there's been quite a few clients that we've started seed cycling on the menstrual using the moon phases, and then within 3 months their cycle is regulated, and then we've moved on to cycle using their own menstrual cycle.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I'm obviously using your seeds now, which is pretty cool. It comes in this beautiful packaging. So like you said, phase 1, phase 2. Yeah, you've done really well, Mel. So this is your brand new business, the Seed Cycle. So essentially you've made it easier for people to do the seed cycling. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the whole idea came about, I was actually going to create a little program within Functional Health Canberra, because I had clients who I knew they'd benefit from seed cycling, but they were like, oh, I keep forgetting to buy the seeds. I keep forgetting to take them. I'm confused. And so I decided I'm going to do a little program where I send my clients, I'm going to grind them up, package them, and I'll send them to my clients each month. And I was telling my husband about it, and he kind of didn't say anything, which was strange because usually he tell me his opinion. And he came back the next day and he said, I think you're onto something. Doesn't see under Functional Health Canberra. I'll invest, whole nother business. Let's go big. And then when he said that, I was like, yeah. and really like that. So that was only in March. And then within that, we just hit the ground running, registered the business, found certified organic seed suppliers, packaging, the whole lot. We've just converted a spare room in our house into a little factory, because now we've got big machines.
Amazing.
And it's all just, but it really just came from a genuine desire to help my clients and make it as easy as possible for them to seed cycle. And I feel like I've just been thrown into this world that I didn't even know existed. And There are so many amazing people having these conversations around menstrual cycles. And I only found out recently that 50% of women have hormonal issues and only 10%, less than 10% of men do. And then, like that got me thinking about, like we were told like a period, your period's a curse and you kind of just got to put up with it, or,
it shouldn't really be like that. Hey.
Yeah, Band-Aid solutions like the pill. Like I have clients who are on it and who are seed cycling. They've seen the benefits, and now their daughters are getting their periods, and they're getting their daughters onto it, and having this conversation, which I think is so cool.
I honestly feel like I wish that I had have learned more about this at a young age, like when I was a teenager, because I guess I spent so many years of that first part of my menstrual cycle on the pill, having absolutely no idea that it wasn't even a real period in the first place.
I had no idea either.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I was going to ask you, Mel, what your thoughts are, I guess, on, because I know that you mentioned a lot about whole foods. And to me, it's incredible that you can have something as small as like seeds, and it can have such a massive impact on your health. So I wanted to kind of ask, what is your viewpoint, I guess, on modern medicine and things like the pill and that sort of thing? I just feel like as a health coach myself, I find a lot of the time clients will mention this to me, and obviously this is not in my scope, but they will relay what their doctor has told to them. And a lot of the time there is no conversation about it. It is literally like, we're going to put you on the pill, or we're going to give you this. There's nothing about nutrition at all, or health.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not an expert either, but the more I kind of talk to people and the more I read, I just finished reading Dr. Brighton's Beyond the Pill, I think it's called. And it's just, what she talks about is exactly that, where you turn 16, your periods are heavy, the doctor puts you on the pill, you stay on the pill for years because you're too scared of getting off. And, we don't really know what that's doing. And that's where I know Dr. Brighton uses seed cycling to help women get off the pill. If there's fear there and the concern around some of those symptoms that may come back that they had prior, that seed cycling is a really great way that you can seed cycle while you're on the pill and then transition off the pill and not have all those symptoms. So I think that for women who are on hormonal birth control and don't feel right, because that's what I hear, or feel like want to get off but are scared to, I think that being able to support them getting off is amazing, and give them all this information and what we're learning now.
Another conversation, also women being scared of, obviously maybe not for today, but women being scared of getting pregnant as well, and how you're actually only really strongly fertile for a certain amount of days per month, whereas I never knew that. Like I can relate to what you're saying, like just being on the pill, especially from 16 to whenever I got off it in my mid 20s maybe, but also trying to not get pregnant, that being so important, right? When really through education, it's not necessarily the case. Like it's
there's
not
different
that
ways.
There's different ways.
I think the thing that's also really helped me as well, and we were just chatting about this earlier, is the amount of apps that we can get as well to start tracking our cycle. And that also, like what you just said, Gina, in actually understanding that there really is only a window that you're most likely to be able to fall pregnant. So to take the pill this whole time, to just purely because you're not, wanting to fall pregnant, which is what I had done for so many years being in a relationship. After getting the app and realizing this and actually tracking my cycle, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, why didn't I just do this earlier? And I would have been able to understand how this all works. So I think it's so important. It's like a big message to really get out there to, especially the young girls in this day and age, to be able to have or make educated decisions around this type of thing when they are coming into the early teens as well. So
and definitely, of course, we're not saying the pill isn't for everyone. Of course, there's definitely heaps of people out there that the pill is perfect for, but just something to consider, so everyone reflects on their own situation and makes a really educated decision on their unique situation. Just going back to what you were saying before, Mel, just around your clients struggling with creating a habit, or the complexity of seed cycling, I wanted to jump to you, Alice, and ask you, so because that's sometimes part of it, hey, is making things more simple for our clients. Do you find that as well, Alice, with clients, like helping them to simplify change, or helping them to simplify new habits as they start to evolve or to change their habits?
And I guess that is true, G, with anything with clients, like trying to simplify things as much as you can, because it's definitely one of those things that I would like to be able to educate my own clients on more. But it's, you know, I'm almost at a place where I've read so much now that I just almost don't know where to start. Like, what information can I give to them to implement easily to start with, you know? And so something like the seed cycling is really perfect. It's a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And I feel like what you do with your clients as well, Al, is when you do give them a plan, like a food plan, you're working with them on that, right? Finding out their preferences, but also then you're helping make sure that food plan is going to give them everything that they need for their goal at the time. That's also a version of simplifying things for the person while they build habits, until they're ready to start to learn more and more and more and get more educated. And then you almost start to transition them off meal plans, don't you? And they start to become more knowledgeable. So you're taking them from a beginner through the meal plan phase, and then you're evolving them to being self-sufficient, aren't you? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've done with the seeds. Like, we have really done the day 1 to 14, day 15 to 28. And then because a lot of people don't know when they're ovulating, aren't tracking their phases. And then as they get familiar with that process, then we say, hey, did you know you can even notice when you're ovulating and switch then. And that's going to kind of take you that one step further. Or, you know, then you can use a tracking app, and then you can start to even live your life in a way where you're working with your hormones and what phase you're at. Other foods that you can use, that you can have in those different phases. I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about circadian rhythms and how that works really well for men, but not so well for us. And we've got it, and the world's kind of set up in that way of that circadian rhythm, whereas women work in it with a different rhythm, and we're not really. We don't get taught about that rhythm. And so learning how to work with your rhythm, again, like a whole nother podcast, but like, yeah, so cool.
So cool.
I know. I think also the one thing that probably actually maybe convinced me most to look into it was probably being, you know, that busy person, which I'm sure both of you can relate to. But the one thing that I was like, oh, I've got to try this, was actually more the mental state, the productivity, trying to reduce the brain fog and the PMS kind of symptoms more than anything, because my personal experiences that I've never suffered anything physically with period issues, I guess you would say. But it was more the other benefits for me, where I saw around the mental health and the clarity and stress and all of that, which I was like, I've got to try this just to see if it's going to help me, you know, really boost my way of working and that sort of thing. So I feel like it's not only just your health and physical things, but so much to do with your mental health as well, I guess.
Totally. And I can definitely relate to that, Al. And like also, yeah, skin. Also, my nails are ridiculous. Look at them. It's natural nails.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's all help. I've probably been doing it for like 8 months now, so it's definitely helpful in that way. And what's the other thing? Yeah, like you mentioned, PMS. So I've definitely noticed I'm not as PMSy or high strung towards the end, like before I get my period. So that's beneficial for everyone, including partners, isn't it? So they don't get the brunt of us. So, yeah, unless there's other factors where I'm, you know, stressed in other ways, or haven't had enough sleep, you know, then I find my PMS will get a little bit worse again. But, you know, if I'm taking care of myself, it's definitely a bit better than it was. So.
That's so cool. You've been doing it for 8 months. It really is, like, seed cycling's a long game. You know, it's like we say 3 to 6 months till you'll kind of notice anything. But it's so worth sticking it out. And the fact that, within a month, people are, I was surprised when we started the business, and then we'd been running for a month or so, people had already started to say, I'm seeing benefits. And I'm like, really? I was expecting that 3 to 6 month mark. So that's been really cool. But yeah, it's a habit, and even with our seeds, it's just the one scoop, but it's still something that you have to remember to do every day, and consistency.
Yeah, have you been making a night? Oh, no, you have yours a bit differently, hey Al, but I've been making like a nighttime drink. Sounds a bit weird, but it's like hot water, seed cycle, adrenal switch, like a choc mint.
Oh, that's what I'm actually.
Yeah, and what else do I add in there? Gut right, so ATP Science Gut Right. So it's kind of like a earthy, chocolatey nighttime drink. It's got all my seed cycle in there, and that just works for me. So it's literally part of my routine. So. And just something you mentioned around making it more of a lifestyle or making it bigger picture, it's longer term, right? I think that's similar to a lot of supplements. Hey, so people sometimes think they can buy one jar of a supplement and it's going to fix all their problems or help them with their goal. Hey, but it's just not like that. Really, a supplement should be supplementing a nutritious diet. And then it's never a quick fix, right? So any sort of micronutrient supplements you have, or magnesium or vitamin D or anything that you work with your doctor on or your naturopath on, integrating, it's never a quick fix. It's got to be a long game. So
yeah, it's never a quick fix, and it's never just one thing. But what I've noticed with the seed cycling is, for a lot of people, they're already doing all these amazing things, and the seed cycling has been that missing piece to the puzzle, and then they put that in as well, and then everything has kind of come together, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Do you have any other sort of things that come to mind in terms of just overall general nutrition that people could maybe implement if they're looking to pay more attention to their hormonal cycle?
Yeah, there's some really cool information out there now, and for me, what I find is that when I'm menstruating, I really like to focus on supporting my iron levels. So I'll be eating kidney beans, seaweed. I love liver pate, and some people might say ew, gross, but it gives me this abundance of energy, and I think it tastes really good. So really using those foods to support your iron levels. And then when you're moving into the follicular phase, you really want to focus on your proteins, your natural fats, so olive oil, avocado, eggs, all that amazing stuff. Actually, what I'll say, in the menstrual phase, I love raw cacao. We crave chocolate when we're on our period, but our bodies are smart. It's because when we're the raw cacao has it's like the best plant-based source of magnesium, and it helps with your mood, and then into what's after that, ovulation. What you want to be doing is really optimizing the detoxification of estrogen from your liver. So focusing on fiber-rich foods, your dark leafy greens, so your broccoli, your spinach, asparagus, and what else? Kale, Brussels sprouts are really great. And then as you move into your luteal phase, this is where you want to concentrate on your complex carbs. And this is really important because your complex carbs, so you think like your rice, your buckwheat, your sweet potato, they actually contain an amino acid called tryptophan, which is the building block to serotonin, which is your happy hormone, and that's really important in your luteal phase. So I think going that extra level and being able to know where you're at in your cycle, and then being able to use food to support your body is really cool. And when it comes to functional nutrition as well, we're never just looking at food, we're looking at other aspects as well. And I think that minimizing your toxic load is really important. So you may already know of EDCs, so that's your endocrine disrupting chemicals. And what they can do is actually mimic, block, and interfere with the hormones in your body. So a couple of things that I like to suggest to people is to limit the EDCs, is to buy organic fruits and vegetables where you can. Make sure you're washing them really well. Don't microwave your food in plastic containers. And so I'm all about grab and go meals, some weeks that's all I can have, but I just move it into, I take it out of the plastic and then heat it up reducing the amount of canned and processed foods is a really big one.
And just on
then,
that, Mel, like you use like the glass, you can get these really great glass containers that are perfect for the microwave. So anyone who needs an idea on what to put their ready meal into, like a glass is best. Hey.
Yeah, I get the ones from IKEA. They're great.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think the lids are plastic, but the actual container's glass, and then you can just heat that straight in the microwave. So that's really good. I think it's really important to think about what you're putting onto your skin. So your skincare, your cosmetics, again, like they, some have chemicals in it, and whatever you put onto your skin, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream, and then your body has to work hard to eliminate it. So I think that nutrition is amazing, and then when you can also add to it and look at other aspects of health where you can support your hormones, it's really setting you up for success.
Awesome. Well, I think we've got some incredible tips from you today, Mel. So thank you so much for that. And I think, Gina, you had some really good questions on the topic of what we've had a chat about today for our listeners to reflect on.
Yeah, so first of all, for our female listeners, my first question was, do you know what day of your cycle you are on currently? And if you don't, then there are some really great apps out there. Some of them are free. Some of them you can upgrade and get a paid version. But to, explore that a little bit more and download an app which is going to help you track your menstrual cycle. And then that's going to allow you to start to recognize patterns in your unique monthly cycle, and that'll give you insights into your overall health, your stress levels, and peak times for performance and socialization. That'll also help you with some of the nutrition tips that Mel gave us today in relation to where to integrate which foods. Then the second reflection I'd love you guys to do today, so self-reflection, is to take notice of your own cycle. Can you start to notice any patterns in your behavior, your mood, your performance in the gym, perhaps your desire to socialize, or the radiance of your skin? So starting to notice those little things and see if there are patterns across your menstrual cycle, across your month.
And I think it's a really good point that those tracking apps do make it really easy for you to log these, because, it has all of the little things in there where you can log what kind of symptoms you might have popping up. And you might not at the time think it's you might not know you're ovulating, or you might not know what phase of your cycle that you're in. But you've noticed, today, you've got stomach cramps, or you feel bloated, or your skin's playing up. And if you just log it, you can actually then look back a couple months and you can start to see some trends coming sometimes as well. So I find those apps to be really helpful.
Also, when you're booking in, social engagements, you notice when you are patterns, when you're feeling more social in your month. Say you have got a function you want to book in, or say you've noticed times when you are feeling less social as well, or you want to just kind of be a bit of a homebody, or just kind of reflect in, do some some research or some self-work, some journaling, whatever, kind of noticing the transitions, and then I guess planning for accordingly for your life. So you're not putting yourself in, when you want to have those kind of internal days where you're doing more reflection and research and that kind of thing, you're not putting yourself out there to be social, and vice versa. So also big days in the gym, hey, noticing which ones are the more powerful days in the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mel. It's been such a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's podcast, guys. And as always, if you're enjoying our podcast so far, take a screenshot, share it in your story so that we can reshare and build our Body and Beyond community. Stay tuned for the next episode.
See you guys. Over and out.
The Body and Beyond podcast is for information purposes only. This podcast does not constitute advice or services, and the statements and views of the hosts and guests are not medical advice. The information provided should not be used for treatment or diagnosis purposes. Please discuss any information from this podcast with your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle.